What's up, everybody? Welcome into another subscriber submissions episode of that Dynasty show. Today, we are going to be doing one of our typical subscriber submission videos, but we're going to be doing it for our buddy Sean, who is in our Dynasty League. He was texting me earlier today. He goes, "Hey, man, my team's in a pretty brutal spot. If you want an entertaining video, go ahead and review my team." And Sean, if you're watching this, I want you to know I've been waiting for this text because I really, really want to look at your team in a more in-depth view with Tyler here. And speaking of Tyler, go ahead and introduce yourself for the episode.
Yeah, my name's Tyler, and I have a lot of questions. Let's just get right into it. Thanks for watching. I'm sure you guys probably aren't going to disagree with much that we say today. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell us why we're wrong. Tell us why we're right. Tell us why. I don't know. Let's get on with it.
Yeah, and before I start sharing my screen here, I'll give everyone a heads up. Sean is in the middle of a full-on rebuild, as he has been for a little bit here. And there are some high points in his team, and there are some low points in his team. So I'm going to go ahead and share it here. And Sean, I want you to know that whatever we say, we still love you, buddy.
It's important to get that out before we start.
Yes. So okay, this is Sean's roster. Every piece of it that he has, I have put on this screen. So you can see here, he only has 2 picks currently in the 2023 draft. He has 4 picks currently in the 2024 draft. And he has a shit ton of quarterbacks, a shit ton of receivers. He's got a lot of depth on this team. We do have a roster trimming period in this league coming up in the next couple of weeks. So he is going to have to cut about 5 or 6 guys, but there are some obvious cuts here, like Jake Fromm, Easton Stick, Devontae Freeman, and David Johnson aren't even on teams anymore. So pretty easy cut period for Sean here, I would assume. But let's go ahead. We'll dive into the quarterbacks. And let me preface this by saying, Sean, I love you. But also, this is one quarterback, and Sean has 8 quarterbacks on his team. And I mean, they're not bad quarterbacks, right? Like Trey Lance with San Francisco, he could emerge to be a top 12 weekly option, especially when that rushing upside hits. And if they do re-sign Debo to an extension, Trey Lance is actually going to be a pretty damn good quarterback to own in fantasy. And then I do like having, between Daniel Jones, Baker Mayfield, and Ryan Tannehill, you have an extremely solid QB2 in there somewhere, right? Like one of those guys is going to hit as probably a high end to middle end QB2 this year. But Tyler, with the exception of Jake Fromm and Easton Stick, because we know those guys are going to be cut from his team, how do you feel about this quarterback room moving forward for him?
I would say pick 2 of them and get rid of everybody else. For me, it would probably be Trey Lance, Baker Mayfield. He's got 5 guys on this roster that are going to have a starting job somewhere in Jimmy G, Trey Lance, Baker Mayfield, Ryan Tannehill. And even if Ryan Tannehill, goes away, maybe Malik Willis will replace him after that too. So and I don't know if I said Daniel Jones. I don't know if I skipped over his name, but yeah, a lot of guys who are going to put up points. In a 1 quarterback league, I don't see the point in hoarding them like this. I don't see the point in stocking up your roster, using up roster spaces on these guys when there's a lot of other guys that I'd rather take chances on, even no-name guys, random running backs that are even 3rd strings in random rooms right now that I'd rather have on my roster than having so many quarterbacks in a 1 quarterback league. It doesn't make very, very much sense to me on this one.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one because, I mean, and using James Robinson as an example is always an extreme example, right? Because undrafted rookies don't finish top 7 in the running back category very often. In fact, James Robinson was probably the first one. But the point is, like, it's good to go out and get running backs depth wherever you can. Like the Houston Texans, for example, Marlon Mack and Rex Burkhead are both, if they're not, they're I know in our league they're currently free agents. We have our free agency period opening up in a few weeks. So those are 2 guys that I would target, right? Just guys that have a potential to have some sort of role on the back end. I couldn't tell you any of the other guys off of the top of my head that are available in our league, But I would rather, like you were saying, take a shot on those third string long shot running backs in iffy teams and iffy backfields, because you never know who's going to emerge there. It's a one quarterback league. I personally, so we have a taxi squad here, and you can see Trey Lance and Malik Willis are both marked with a TS for taxi squad. You can have as many guys on your taxi squad as you want, have as many quarterbacks as you want in your taxi squad. But my rule of thumb in one quarterback leagues is, at most, I'm going to have two guys there. In an extreme circumstance, like if I have the option to have like three really good quarterbacks, then I will have a third one, but I'll trade him away, right? Like I'll trade away the one that I don't plan on using. So I don't love the tactic of hoarding the quarterbacks. Obviously, you can get some stuff for these guys in a trade, but again, it's one quarterback. The only guys that are going to yield a top 15, top 16 draft picks are going to be your guys like Pat Mahomes, your guys like Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, those top 5, maybe top 6 quarterbacks. Everyone else in a 1 QB, like, you got to realize Trevor Lawrence last year was one of the most highly touted quarterback prospects since Andrew Luck. Probably was the most highly touted since Andrew Luck. One quarterback leagues, Trevor Lawrence was going like 203, 204. You put all that together, and it's like suddenly that kind of really shows you the true value of these quarterbacks, right? You're only going to send good assets away if you're getting a total elite option. So with these guys, I would take that maybe late second if you're lucky, or that third round rookie pick. I would just take it and run, hold on to two of these guys, and just see what happens for you.
Yeah, when it comes to one quarterback leagues, quarterbacks kind of remind me of like the tight end position in like non-tight end premium leagues, where it's like if you have one of the top 3 in the league, like you're set. It's great. It's a positional advantage every week. It's a good thing to have on your team. Maybe not necessarily worth giving up a whole haul for. I mean, I guess it depends on the guy, but I mean, yeah, outside the top 3 in quarterbacks, like you don't really need. There's no need to go out there and pay up for a quarterback. So I'm getting rid of as many of these guys as I can ASAP.
Yeah. Final notice, I would say keep Trey Lance, but he's on your taxi squad, so you don't need to do anything with him anyway. If I was going to hold on to two of these guys, not counting your taxi squad, so assuming Trey Lance and Malik Willis are both going to be parked on your taxi for the year, I'd keep Baker and I'd keep Tannehill, Easton Stick, Jake Fromm, Jimmy G, Daniel Jones. I'd ship them off to the highest bidder. Jake Fromm and Easton Stick, they're going to be drops, right? No one's going to trade you for those. But Jimmy G and Danny Jones, anything you get, I would just take it and run. We'll go and move on to that running back position. And the running backs scare me even more than the quarterbacks do. Like, this is your running back room is the reason why I'm personally saying dump off your quarterbacks and free up roster space and go after those third string running backs on those teams. Like Derrick Henry last year goes down. Dontrell Hilliard is all of a sudden worth something. This year, Hassan Haskins could be suddenly worth something. If Christian McCaffrey goes down, I know Chuba Hubbard's not a free agent in our league, but a guy like Deontay Foreman is. You want to take a shot on these third string running backs wherever you can, because you never know what's going to happen. So looking at the roster right now, we have Tevin Coleman, which is arguably the fourth string running back in the New York Jets, who have two very young guys, two not so injury prone guys ahead of them. I don't love that, but in terms of the running back depth, yeah, that's a guy that you could roster. James Cook and Kenny Walker, you can see I have them in bold. They are on the taxi squad. Those are both obviously very good guys to have right now. But it does scare me that these guys are probably your RB1 and RB2 for sure. I wouldn't trust either one of them as an RB2 for this year. Maybe one or even both of them could sneak into like the weekly RB2 territory towards the end of the season, but I don't think it's really going to help you too much between now and then. Gus Edwards is the definition of a depth running back that you want, though, right? Because Gus Edwards, we've seen what he can do. He's a very good running back. I like having Gus Edwards on your team for sure. Devonta Freeman, David Johnson, cuts. They're not even rostered right now in real life. Raheem Mostert, okay, good on you owning a piece of that crazy backfield. LaMichael Pirine, taxi squad guy. Trey Sermon, taxi squad guy. And then Travion Williams, I didn't even realize he was still with Cincinnati. I think he's their fourth string running back. So probably a guy that I would look to replace with someone else in a different backfield. I don't know. I don't love this running back room. What do you feel about it?
I mean, like you said, Kenneth Walker and James Cook are probably his two best running backs. There is a chance and there is a world where Raheem Mostert, I don't know, goes back to his days from San Francisco, and we know how fast and explosive he can be. It's a matter of staying healthy, But he is what 30 years old. I think we just talked about him the other day in our late round value video. Kenneth Walker, I think, is a guy who actually I think he can be in RB2 provided Rashad Penny gets hurt, which we've seen happen a lot of times. If Rashad Penny stays healthy, I don't see Kenneth Walker really being a startable option in PPR leagues this year, at least. I don't know if Rashad Penny really stays in Seattle long term. I don't think so.
Yeah,
Wouldn't really make sense to me.
Yeah, I think Kenny Walker could be in for a fairly decent workload by 2023. I don't think he's going to see a big role this year. I think at best case scenario, he's getting maybe 35% of the touches with Penny taking the rest, assuming he's healthy. But again, like you said, Kenny Walker, especially in PPR leagues, he doesn't catch balls. He's not known for catching. I know there's a crowd out there that's angry and says, yeah, he can catch balls. And yeah, no shit, he can catch balls. He just made it into the NFL. He better know how to catch a ball. But that's not the part of the game that he's known for. It's not like he's some superb route runner out of the backfield. It's not like he knows how to get open in a superb fashion. He doesn't make the spectacular catch on a regular basis. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised to see, and not that I'm comparing Kenny Walker to Nick Chubb. It's in the range of possibilities for sure, but I don't think Kenny Walker is going to give the same return as Nick Chubb. But Seattle's going to take an approach where you could compare Kenny Walker to Nick Chubb, and then they'll pick up a running back, kind of like Kareem Hunt, like a pass catching specialist, and they'll go like dual threat like that. But again, I don't think you're going to see the type of efficiency that you're getting from Nick Chubb. So it just kind of seems like even with a full workload, Kenny Walker's ceiling is probably like what, RB18 at best in PPR.
With a full for the absolutely full workload, I think that's probably about where he would fall. I mean, I think his ceiling could probably be a little bit higher than that, maybe like RB11 or 12 if he absolutely gets every touch and all the goal line work
Double
and all.
digit touchdowns, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't necessarily see that happening. I mean, I think he is comparable to a guy like Josh Jacobs who came out a while ago. But when he came out, he had the entire workload of that backfield, and it was a pretty productive offense. And he got all the goal line touches. So we'll see what happens with Kenneth Walker. I do like him a lot. I think that he's going to be productive in the long term, and he's probably a pretty good piece for Sean to be having on this team. But yeah, aside from Kenneth Walker, it's kind of tough for me to really love anything about this running back room. James Cook, I'm really not a fan of. I really like Devin Singletary. I actually think he'll probably be there longer than most others think. But I mean, like you said, when one running back doesn't catch the ball well, like these guys are professional athletes, like they can catch the ball, but it's the NFL. I mean, like they don't care about your fantasy teams. They want guys who do the best job on the field when that job is going to be done. So they're going to find another running back that's cheap that can just do what you can't do,
Exactly.
So with Kenneth Walker, I mean, his ceiling is limited. I don't think he'll ever be a league winning running back, but I think he could be solid for a while. I feel like he could be a guy with a decently high floor, but with a pretty limited ceiling.
That's a good way of putting it. A pretty decent floor, low ceiling, because there's not going to be a ton of PPR upside. He has a very good true runner, though, right? Probably the best true runner from the 2022 class. No offense to Breece Hall, but Kenny Walker is an absolute beast when he gets going. I don't think anyone can really argue that aspect of the game. But yeah, when it comes to fantasy, he's going to be a guy where probably never going to see more than 2, maybe 3 catches a game if we're lucky. And you're going to need him to go off for his, 70 to 100 yards and a touchdown if you want a week altering performance from him. So it'll be interesting. But like you said, Kenny Walker, I know you're not a big James Cook fan. I am. I think Kenny Walker and James Cook is a solid enough room to build around. But there's no there's no guaranteed RB1 on this roster, right? And obviously that's where the 2023 first round pick comes in. But you can see here, Sean's team is too loco. He doesn't even have his own first round pick in 2023. Sean, I don't remember when you traded away your 2023 first round pick, but shame on you. If you're rebuilding, you never trade away your own first round pick. So learn that for the future. And anyone that's watching, never trade away your first round pick under almost any circumstance if you're in a rebuild, right? If somebody says, hey, I'll give you Jamar Chase, fuck it, take my first round pick. But that's not going to happen. So yeah, so far, not the best, to be completely honest. But we'll move on to the wide receiver room.
That being said, though, I do think that they're two decent running backs to have in a rebuild. I mean, they're two rookie guys that,
Yes.
I mean, if they do produce, you're going to have them for a while. So not bad,
It's a good start. It's a good start. If this were year one of the rebuild, I think we're in an okay spot. I would definitely like to see more rookie picks, especially in 2023, right?
Well, that's what I'm actually going through and looking at right now. I'm kind of trying to figure out where are all of his first round picks? Where did they go? Who did he use them on? And things like that. If he had his own first round pick, I would feel a lot better about this roster.
Yes, because this is, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, this is a bottom 3 team in the league, right? So presumably that first round pick next year is going to yield Bijan. It's going to yield one of the top receivers, could be Gibbs, right? Could be one of those other top guys. So I don't love that. And West Coast, Best Coast, I'm saying this because this is our league and I know it. West Coast, Best Coast is like a boom or bust team, right? He could theoretically give Sean a top 5 pick next year, or he could theoretically be a top 3 team. It just depends on how his roster goes. He is a legitimate contender, but also legitimately probably going to be on the playoff bubble. So who knows? It'll be interesting to see. But so far with what we've gone through, there's plenty of worse things to build around than Trey Lance, James Cook, and Kenny Walker. But it's just like with the amount of picks you have, I would expect to see some more substance in here somewhere, right? But moving on, let's take a look at this wide receiver room. And we're going to ignore the cap for the sake of this because I know not everyone watching knows our cap parameters. It's a $60 million cap. So obviously paying OBJ 14.7 and Kenny Gallaudet 9.5 is probably not advisable, especially considering OBJ doesn't have a team right now. So Sean, I don't know who's you're going to be cutting in a couple of weeks, but I'm going to keep my eyes on those guys for sure. But JJ Arcega-Whiteside, I imagine he's getting cut, right? I think he's been moved to tight end officially in Philadelphia. He is a roster clog. OBJ, for his current cost, is kind of ridiculous. But I know you have the cap space to kind of hold on to him. Maybe you sell him midway through the season at that half price that we do in our league. So you never know. It's not bad. He's not really going to help you, but he could help you at the trade deadline, get an asset or two. So that's fine. I do really like Kendrick Bourne at only $1 million here. I like Kendrick Bourne in general. He is probably the wide receiver 3 in New England now that Devontae Parker's there, but he had a pretty good chemistry shown with Mac Jones last year. So Kendrick Bourne is a really good depth receiver. Randall Cobb could be Green Bay's number 1 wide receiver this year, right? He's got the longest trust formed with Aaron Rodgers at the wide receiver position, so you never know. Yeah, I'll let you take over from this part because I feel like I'm doing a lot of the talking and I feel bad. So you pick up where I left off here.
No, don't feel bad. Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you've said so far. I mean, Odell, obviously ridiculous price, but he does have the cap space, so God knows what he's gonna do with that. God knows what Odell is even gonna do. But yeah, I mean, I don't even know how to say Mr. Eric E's name.
Uzukmana? I don't know.
Uzukanma, we'll go with Eric Izukamama, whatever. Izukamama. Yeah, I mean, obviously Miami's loaded at receiver. I would be surprised if he even saw the field, knowing how good even Cedric Wilson is. At any point during his contract and his tenure with Miami. Kenny Gallaudet, like you said, he's expensive. Not sure where Sean's going to end up with him. I know a lot of Giants fans had a lot of hope for him, but I mean, been nothing but a complete bust for them. I'm not sure how much longer he's going to be there and what his future really looks like. Not really much confidence in him, I guess. If you had him at 1 million or like at 0.5, that would be something that like I could get behind and say, hey, who knows, maybe in a year or two, he finds the right situation and things pop off for him, right? But I mean, we've already seen him with, Matt Stafford, who look what he just did with Cooper Kupp, So it's like, how much better is it going to get for Kenny Galladay? Not sure.
Yeah, at that cost, like I don't mind rostering Kenny Gallaudet at all, but at that cost, nearly a sixth of your entire cap space. I don't care how much cap you have. I don't think there's a single argument you can make to hold on to Kenny Gallaudet. I think he is trade him away to the highest bidder if anyone's willing to pay that much for him. I kind of doubt it. So he's probably a drop candidate, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I can't see anybody looking and considering Kenny Galladay a go and get kind of guy. But then Deshaun Watson or Deshaun Jackson, obviously, I mean, free agent. Wish it was 2000, whatever, 15. But it's
Yeah.
not. Tyler Johnson. I mean, we just saw Julio's going to Tampa Bay, so gonna
He's
be
buried on that depth chart now.
Yeah, gonna be crowded over there. John Mechie, you know how I felt about him before we got the news. Don't really know what the future looks like for fantasy, but who cares really? I mean, if I have John Mechie on my roster, I'm leaving him there just kind of out of support, and in rooting for him to come back and to get healthy and to figure those things out, But it does suck. I mean, we thought he was going to be next Brandon Cooks in Houston and be the next target hog there, and who knows? He still could. We saw what James Conner has done. Since he had cancer as well, he beat cancer, so I'm not really sure what the difference is going to be with that. But yeah, not much else I can really say about John Mechie. Zach Pascal, I don't know why he's got so many pieces of this Philly receiving room. You know how I feel about it. I don't really want to touch it. I feel like he's got the worst pieces of it. I would rather take a shot on Devonta Smith or AJ Brown even. We saw Jalen Hurts was the second worst quarterback in terms of producing points for his receivers last year. And then a guy that you like, so I'll just say a quick word and I'll let you take it away before we go on. Because I know you're a fanboy of two of these guys coming up, so let you finish us off. But Michael Pittman, I think, is going to be a solid piece. I think I'm a little bit lower on him than most, but that doesn't mean I don't like him. I do like him as a solid piece who's going to be, I think, solid for a while. I mean, even if Indy gets a star receiver, which I don't really think they will, I don't think they're going to be investing in that until Jonathan Taylor is starting to wind down his career. But I think it's going to be on Michael Pittman. We saw T.Y. Hilton be successful in Indianapolis for a long time. I think Michael Pittman could be the next tough and rough receiver in Indianapolis that is successful. But I'm not sure how I feel about where his ADP is at right now. I think he's like wide receiver like 14 or 15 or something like that.
Yeah, he's somewhere in the 15 to 20 range. I'm personally paying that price, and I'm pretty happy to do so. First half of the season last year, when Carson Wentz was actually playing competent football, Michael Pittman was like a top 7, top 8 wide receiver through the first half of the season. And then obviously Carson Wentz, it was a tale of two seasons. He looked really good in the first half of the season. And then in the second half, he looked like a college level quarterback out there. Like he was really bad the second half of the season. Michael Pittman still ended up finishing as I think like a top 20, top 22 wide receiver last year. So I have a lot of faith in the guy. I think he is supremely talented. We've seen his ceiling. We know what he can do when the quarterback play is playing on a reliable level. And I think that's what Matt Ryan is going to deliver to Indianapolis. No idea what to expect after the next couple of years, but I do think that Matt Ryan will play well enough and stay in Indy for 2, maybe even 3 seasons. It's not like he is super close to retirement. I don't think he'll be in the league for another 5 or 6 years, but wouldn't surprise me to see Matt Ryan stick around for 3 to 4 if Indianapolis will have him. So you never know what's going to happen there, but I really like Michael Pittman. Michael Pittman is probably my favorite person on this entire team to be building around right now. So kudos to you
That's
for
that's a statement from you, actually. I mean, I guess it makes sense with the way
well,
your rankings are panned out. But
yeah.
I can't imagine that if you had the option to draft Jameson Williams this year, that you would have traded him away for Michael Pittman.
It depends on the situation. I mean, I do have Michael Pittman ranked higher in my dynasty rankings than Jameson Williams. So with that being said, yeah, I think I would take Michael Pittman over Jameson Williams in a lot of scenarios. And the reason why I'm saying he is the best asset that Sean has here is we've seen what Michael Pittman can do, right? He had a 9-game stretch where he was a top 10 PPR wide receiver. Jameson Williams, he's fucking awesome. I think he's going to light up the NFL, but it's still all speculation. Rookies bust all the time. And no matter how confident I am on a rookie, if I can get a guy like Michael Pittman, who is finishing as a top 20 receiver and had an 8-game stretch as a top 10 wide receiver, I'm probably going to take him over the unproven rookie, especially an unproven rookie in Detroit, right? Like we can speculate all we want, whether or not it's going to be Jared Goff, whether or not they're going to go out and get Young or Stroud next year. But it's all speculation. Michael Pittman is the safer pick. And I think Jameson Williams is going to have more upside at some point in his career than Michael Pittman. But we already know what Michael Pittman can do, and I'm going to take that safety over the potential that is Jameson Williams. Now, with that being said, Jameson Williams is my second favorite build-around piece here. It's no secret that he's my wide receiver one in the rookie class. I'm taking him ahead of everyone not named Breece Hall in any format in any rookie draft this year, because I do think he's going to be a stud, and I would be very happy to have him on my team. In fact, I traded up on our draft to pick 105, thinking that I would be able to get Jameson Williams, and then he went at 104 directly ahead of me, and I was pissed. But I ended up.
Poor you. You ended up with Drake London.
Yeah, poor me. Had to settle for Drake London. So, it is what it is. But no, I do like this wide receiver tandem, and they're very cheap in a cap space where you have $60 million to play around with. So I do like this. There's 3 guys in between. I mean, Jalen Reagor is shitty. Amari Rodgers hasn't seen an opportunity in the NFL yet. And then Wan'Dale Robinson, I think he's actually going to be half decent for the Giants, but he's very similar to what Kadarius Toney is, and he's not as good as Kadarius Toney is as like what they're supposed to be known for. So I don't really know what kind of role we can envision Wan'Dale having for the Giants. And not to mention, they still have Kenny Gallaudet. They still have Sterling Shepard. They still have Darius Slayton. They still have Saquon Barkley too. Wan'Dale Robinson might not even be a top 5 receiving option on this team this year. So it's going to be an uphill battle for him to see relevance. So the wide receiver room in the end, I love having Michael Pittman and I love having Jameson Williams. Obviously, this is a team that we're not looking to compete with this year. At least I'd hope we're not looking to compete with this year. So it's a good year to leave Jameson Williams on the taxi squad. He's probably not going to be available, maybe even until the midway point of the season. I know there are quotes from JMO saying, "Oh yeah, I'll be ready by week 1." He's not a doctor. He's going to say that, obviously, but I would take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, Sean, there is a lot of young talent to like here, right? JMO, Michael Pittman. We don't know what's going to happen with Wan'Dale Robinson, but he's a half decent player. John Mechie, if he comes back, I was really excited to watch John Mechie this year. He's a very good player. I was watching, I would watch endless Jameson Williams film, and John Mechie would obviously always be on the other side of the field, and John Mechie would be doing some pretty cool shit too. So, he's a guy to be excited about. Outside of those 3 or 4 guys, it's kind of a bunch of for me. I would hold on to Randall Cobb and then trade him away the second he has his first big game with Aaron Rodgers. And it's probably about it. I'd be perfectly fine with dumping off the rest of these guys for the highest bidder, or even just dropping them and, seeing elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely the strength of his team, I think, pretty clearly. Pittman, Williams, and, whatever Mechie's going to be. And even Jalen Reagor, I mean, as terrible as he has been, god-awful. There's no Eagles fan who even wants to hear about his name at all anymore. I guess I'm assuming that's probably where he spent one of his first-round picks. And then I'm still trying to find out where else. Michael Pittman, I guess. James Cook. Yeah, Kenneth Walker. I mean, I guess that's 4 first round picks. But I mean, I guess he just didn't end up with with the very best of them. But I mean, Michael Pittman and Jameson Williams are good receivers that I want to build around. You know, they're going to be around for a while. And Jameson Williams, high ceiling guy. We've talked about him a lot. So yeah, a couple of trade pieces. Randall Cobb can definitely be traded, like you said. Who knows what happens with Wandell Robinson? I don't think he'll ever be a consistent guy that I want in my lineup all the time. So if he does have a big week or two, I might be inclined to trade him away too. Especially where we're at. There's a lot of Giants fans I think in our league. And I mean, whatever's going to happen with Amari Rogers and Randall Cobb, I think they could both be candidates to be traded away at some point. Because I mean, that room is just so wide open that they're gonna have to play well in at least 1 or 2 weeks this year because we know what Aaron Rodgers does.
Yeah, I agree. So the wide receiver room is definitely, like you were saying, it's kind of the bread and butter of this team. Still a lot of room for improvement. Obviously, very unlucky with the John Mechie news. I think he actually would have been a pretty good young part of this team, and he still could be. But obviously, it's just a wait and see approach now. But with how I look at this, Michael Pittman and Jameson Williams, those are two more really good build around pieces. So Trey Lance, James Cook, Kenny Walker, Michael Pittman, Jameson Williams, all very good. You can see here, I already have them in bold. And looking at the tight end room, you got Dallas Goddard for really cheap, 1.45 out of $60. I love that. What are you doing?
Saying send him out of here, get him off of this team. He is like the clearest trade candidate on this team possible. He's how old now? What? He's 27, 28, something like that.
Let's see. Dallas Goddard is 27. He just turned 27 in January.
I am getting him off of this team as quickly as humanly possible. He is the easiest piece to let go of, and I mean, in a PPR league, he's going to be probably a top 5 tight end this year, top 6 tight end this year. So I don't want to increase my win rate anyways, and I'd rather replace him later on in a future draft in the second round or something like that than have him on my roster. Get him out of here, get draft capital, sell him to the highest bidder. He's got such a great contract, get him out of there.
Yeah, I love that take. And as in most case scenarios, I wouldn't trade away Dallas Goddard, even in a rebuild, right? But only if your rebuild is like 1 year away. Like, I would be happy to hold on to Dallas Goddard if I was convinced that this team would be competing next year. But I don't think it's going to. This team, Sean, I'm sorry to say it, man, but you're probably looking at 2024 as the earliest year of relevance, unless you really strike gold and make some big trades here and there. So you got to look at it this way. By the time you're a legitimate contender, Dallas Goddard is going to be 29. And we have seen wide receivers play into their early 30s at a pretty high level, right? Obviously, we saw Greg Olsen a few years ago. Travis Kelce's doing it. Who else? Darren Waller, I think, is over 30, or maybe
Yeah, he's
is
20. I think he's 29 right now.
Oh, well, there you go. And Travis Kelce's kind of an oddity, right? He's just a freak of nature athlete. And I wouldn't bank on Dallas Goddard being able to keep up with a top 5 tight end finish for the next 3 years. I think he'll do it this year. I think he'll do it next year. And maybe he will do it in 2024. But I'm not going to hold on to him on this team for that maybe possibility in 2024. With this contract, and Dallas Goddard is arguably the top of the tier that's directly under, Kelsey, Pitts, Andrews, and Kittle, right? There are some people, and I'm one of them, you could make an argument to take Goddard over Darren Waller, and I don't think anyone would really bat an eye at that. At 1.45 of salary, you can easily get a first-round pick plus something additional for Dallas Goddard, I think, in this format. And if you could get that offer, I would make it sooner rather than later. I completely agree with you on that. He's a phenomenal tight end. He's so good. But with his age and just the trajectory of that Philadelphia team, it just doesn't seem like holding on to him is worth it. You can get so much more return over the next 2 years for him.
Yeah, I don't think I'm personally giving away a first round pick for Dallas Goddard just because, I mean, how long is he going to be elite for and how elite is he going to be? I mean, who knows? If I'm him, I'm sending that trade to every team in the league, and first person who takes it, I'm saying thanks and probably, blocking his number so he doesn't come back and start yelling about it.
Yeah, let's see here what Dallas Goddard is worth on Keep Trade Cut. So yeah, they're saying he's not even worth a late 2023 first, but he is worth, according to KTC, he's worth the 2022 first overall pick of the second round. I wouldn't trade him for a second round pick. It would, even in this situation, I would need a first or a slew of young players with upside to take on here. And so if you're only getting offers of a second round pick right now, I would hold him into the season, right? But in season, when, if Travis Kelce gets hurt or Darren Waller gets hurt or Mark Andrews or TJ Hawkinson, like one of those guys that's up in that top 6 or 7 goes down and that team is like seriously contending, but now they're missing a tight end, someone will give you a first round pick by the trade deadline for Dallas Goddard, especially at this price, because they can hold on to them for a while. So yeah, I would just buy your time with him, and between now and the trade deadline, just keep shopping him. Someone will eventually give a first round pick for Dallas Goddard unless he gets hurt. So
Yeah, it's funny because for me, it's like I would give up any second round pick for Dallas Goddard. I wouldn't sell him for that, but I also would sell him for any first round pick. Wouldn't pay that for him. It's like that imaginary line, at the 112 to 201. It's like literally like that is the line for me, is like where I kind of, it's buy or sell either way. That's my tipping point.
yeah. And if you can guarantee that it's going to be the 201, then sure, maybe settle for it. But you can never guarantee those type of things. So I want a guaranteed top 12 pick. And chances are, if somebody is offering you a pick for Dallas Goddard, they're probably a contender and it's going to be a late pick. So it has to be a first, right? It can't be a second rounder. But looking at the rest of this tight end room, it's okay, right? Like you got the Jacksonville tight end locked down. I actually think Evan Ingram could find some success in Jacksonville this year. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. Trevor Lawrence is a very good quarterback. He's not under Urban Meyer anymore, which is honestly a bigger deal than a lot of people realize. Evan Ingram at $6 million, a lot of questions regarding giving Evan Ingram 10% of your total salary money, but that's neither here nor there. But I think he's a guy that, because in our league, we have a clause where if you trade him in the season, you can deal them at half price. You can retain $3 million and then trade him away for $3 million. I think at some point this year, when Evan Ingram is, somewhat balling out in Jacksonville, and when I say somewhat balling out, I mean like a serviceable top 13 option at the tight end position, I think someone will toss you maybe a late second, early third for Evan Ingram at the trade deadline, but probably nothing more. Anything you can get for him, I would take, honestly, but he is worth holding on to ahead of this season. And then like Dan Arnold and Dalton Keene, those guys, I want nothing to do with them. I don't even know why Dalton Keene is still on this roster. And then I do like having Jelani Woods on the taxi squad because he's just a big fucking dude that could emerge as a top option in the tight end room in Indianapolis as soon as this year. So I like the tight end room. I really do. But get to trading. Like sell these guys,
Yeah. I mean, the rest of the room is kind of like whatever for me. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to be desiring these names at this point in the season. No one's giving up draft capital to get these guys. But at the end of the day, really, there's only 3 guys on this team that are untouchable for me. And I mean, you can probably guess them before I say them. Jameson Williams, Michael Pittman, and Kenneth Walker. I think those are decent building pieces. If he is able to get rid of Dallas Goddard for a first round pick, I think that could be a huge turning point. I mean, how much better do I feel about this rebuild if he's got a late 2023 first next year? Even if it's late, I don't care if it's the back 5 of the league. I mean, if I end up with a Josh Downs to replace Dallas Goddard or
a Michael Mayer even.
Michael Mayer. You know, who knows? Any of those guys, who's gonna end up at the back end of that first round. You know, we can do our mock drafts now and do our predictions. We think the top five is pretty solid. Who the heck knows what's going to happen after that? I think maybe Quentin Johnson, Josh Downs. I would actually take Josh Downs higher than that. If he falls to you in the back end of that round, I think you're pretty lucky. But you know, you get a solid running back there. You know, I mean, if you're able to move laterally, and I know you're a fan of James Cook, but if you're able to get a 23 first for him, I'm taking that in a heartbeat, running away. Any of those quarterbacks, if you're able to get second round picks, third round picks, getting them out of there. I mean, Michael Pittman, Jameson Williams, Kenny Walker are really the only three that I'm worried about building around here. And when I'm saying Kenny Walker, I mean building around him as like a solid RB2, because I think it's a huge advantage if your RB2 is a guy like if Kenneth Walker turns out to be like a Josh Jacobs, a guy who's really just consistent week in and week out, having a high end RB2 is beneficial when they're consistent and reliable and healthy all the time. You know.
Well, let me ask you this. So I don't think anyone's going to give up a 2023 first round pick for James Cook. James Cook, his ADP, I think is somewhere between like 9 overall and 12 overall in these 2022 drafts. And I think that's about fair. But it's a pretty general consensus that if you have a pick later than pick 5, maybe pick 6 in 2022, if you can flip that second half first rounder for a 2023 first, you do it, right? So let me ask you this. If somebody offered you without knowing where they're going to finish, because I'm intrigued because I'm a James Cook fan. I wouldn't do this. But if somebody offered you a random second round pick that could range anywhere between 201 and 212 in 2023 for James Cook, are you taking that deal?
A random one right now, probably not. Just because knowing where you would have had to draft James Cook, um, I'm not trading what was even a late round first round pick for any random second round pick. As much as I love the 23 class, I don't love it that much to shoot myself in the foot and just take value away from my team without seeing how it pans out first. You know.
Yeah, I agree with that. So, and I think I don't think you're going to be able to get a 2023 first for James Cook at this point. So
If it was a
really,
201, if it was 100% the 201, I would say so. But the thing is, I think that Sean already owns. Oh no, I guess he doesn't own his second round pick next year. So if he could get
yeah,
his second round pick back for James Cook, then
it
I
should
might,
be a top 15 pick. Yeah.
yeah.
But now I look if I'm Sean, this is exactly what I'm doing. I'm holding on to Trey Lance as my quarterback, but since I know that I'm not going to be winning games this year, or at least I'm not trying to win games this year, I'd leave Trey Lance on your taxi squad. He has 3 years of taxi squad eligibility. I would use up as many as possible. I wouldn't start him at all until I'm like ready to start winning. I think Lance, James Cook, Kenny Walker, Michael Pittman, Jameson Williams, Dallas Goddard. That's a very solid core. But as we kind of alluded to, Dallas Goddard should probably be traded away. As soon as someone offers you a first round pick, I would take it and run. I don't care if you think it's going to be the 112. It's a top 12 pick for a tight end. That's probably not going to help you personally win. I would take that. I would take that deal. The 2023 first round, obviously, that's going to be something good to build around as well. You need, if you're in a rebuild right now, you need multiple 2023 first round picks. You absolutely need to. You do whatever you can to get them. If you're shopping around Dallas Goddard and someone doesn't want to give you a first for him, okay, add something else to Dallas Goddard. Obviously, don't add in Pittman, Williams, Cook, Lance, Walker, or nothing like that. But like whatever you need to get it done, even if it's like your third round pick, like I would gladly package Dallas Goddard and my third round pick for a first round pick in 2023, right? Like I don't think there's anything wrong with that if that's what it takes to get over the hump. So I don't want to say there's a lot you can do with this team because to be completely honest, outside of those 6 guys, there's really not any value to be had on the trade market. I would say you just got to wait for the season to come and just constantly monitor who's having those big games. And after they have that big game and they have a ton of hype on them, sell them as fast as you can. And I think that's the only way that you're really going to be able to kickstart this rebuild. Because if not, you're going to be waiting until 2024 at the earliest, I'd say. I know you'll have a ton of cap space to bid on our free agents this time next year. In that 2023, there's a lot of really good projected free agents in our pool next year. But yeah, dude, just status quo. Try to sell Dallas Goddard. Sell off your guys anytime they have 15 or more points in a single week, and Godspeed, brother.
Yeah, I mean it's just heartbreaking to look at a rebuild that's not kind of stocked in with rookie picks in next year's draft because of how generational we think it's going to be. But sorry, the dog just jumped off the bed and face planted. But yeah, and looking at West Coast Best Coast team, kind of scary to look at, knowing that that's the first round pick that he has, knowing that if his core stays healthy with, Kamara, Dalvin Cook, Travis Kelce, or whatever. I know we're not talking about that team, but those are kind of the guys that we're looking at with West Coast Best Coast. If those guys stay healthy, then it's going to be
This is
pretty.
going to be a back half first.
Yeah, it's going to be a back half first, and I mean, and like you said with a third round pick, I mean, I look at third round picks as I'll send you a third round pick if I'm a competing team, and for the next 2 weeks, I need someone to start in this role, and that's really all I'm using him for, and that's all. That's as long as he's going to be good for. It's a convenience thing. That's what I give it up for. That's what I don't mind spending them. If I'm not competing in 2023, I don't need it for a damn thing. You could have it in any trade, and it's not going to move the needle for me in any way, shape, or form. But that being said, I still think 2023 is probably going to be a tank year for him. He's probably going to be going after a guy like Travion Henderson or someone in 2024 going after that 101. And who knows? It's gonna be a process, but you have a couple solid pieces, and if you can find some late round gold or even mid round gold with that 2023 pick next year, this team looks a lot better. And if you can trade Dallas Goddard even for a mid round projected second round pick, and then next year if you trade 2 seconds and a first for another first to try and get two firsts in that 2023 round, that's kind of a creative idea. Who knows who's going to go for that? But I think it might be worth it to be moving up just to get one of those really elite level talents. 'Cause, I mean, just the tier break in those guys is crazy sometimes. But I mean, you're gonna have to get creative, and I mean, hopefully some of these younger guys pan out. I mean, we never know. Wandale Robinson could be a guy that we're looking at, like. And we kind of looked at like Amon-Ra St. Brown last year, who he could end up being a guy who produces in a role where there's not a lot of competition, and then all of a sudden we're valuing him at like a 2024 first. He's pretty much going for in the calculators, So there's a lot of decent upside to be had, and it wouldn't surprise me if Jameson Williams comes back healthy. And to be honest, it might be a situation where if there's someone who has 2023 first, because this roster needs so many pieces. If I'm able to move one of my pieces for 2 first round picks in next year's draft, I think that's pretty much a heartbeat.
Or if he can trade for his own first back,
Yeah, that
I would
might.
take that too. Bijan or one of the top 2 receivers. Hey, fuck it.
Yeah, right. I mean, I don't know if Jameson Williams pops off. I mean, who knows if I would really want to even let go of him if he turns out to be what we think he can be in the NFL. But I mean, I don't think we're going to be finding out year one. So I don't think that that's going to be the situation there. But yeah, it's gonna be pretty pivotal for you this year to get as much value for these random guys as you can. You're going to have to be paying attention to who has a good week when, even when they're on your bench. Guess what? It still matters because that affected their trade value, and that's all you're really worried about this season. You're not even worried about starting the right guys in the lineup because I don't think you're finding a finish that even gets you to the playoffs. I mean, who knows? Maybe Michael Pittman goes off as the number wide receiver 1 and Jameson Williams wide receiver 2. Kenny Walker's running back 1 this year. Who knows, right? And in some universe, that's possible, right? There's infinite universes. Maybe this is the one. But But yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to pay close attention and get rid of these guys as soon as their value goes up and as soon as anybody's willing to pay anything for them.
Yeah, I agree. So, Sean, our message to you, just pay close attention, know when to sell your guys. And, speaking as a guy in your league, pay attention to everyone else and what their needs are on a week to week basis. Pay attention to who's getting those injuries, pay attention to who has guys on a shit ton of bye weeks or something like that. Anywhere where you can squeeze out value, like Randall Cobb, for example. Who knows? Maybe he's having a half decent season with Aaron Rodgers, even if he's only averaging 9 to 12 points a game or something like that. There's gonna be a point in the season where you can get at least a low end rookie pick for him, right? Any sort of value that you can get, I would get it. Just pay good attention, take good notes, and hope for the best. But Sean, we appreciate you letting us use your team here tonight. It's not the worst team in Dynasty I've ever seen, right? It's far from a good situation. I won't sugarcoat that because a lot of the times, and we've mentioned this, a lot of the times when people are balls deep in a rebuild like this, you typically have more picks, or at least you have your own pick. And it's a little concerning that you don't have your own pick. Definitely disappointing. But I think with the right move, you can at least sneak away with 2, maybe 3 more picks for next year. I don't know if you're going to get a first unless you do trade away Dallas Goddard, but I can see you ending up with a lot more second and third round picks based off of just selling your guys at the right time, right?
To be
So
honest with you, I would trade Dallas Goddard and the 24 second to get into the 23 first. I think I would feel so much better about this team doing that. And in the beginning of the video, like when I first looked at the team, I was just so confused about the quarterbacks. I didn't even know what to say. But as we look at it, solid building pieces. And if you can find the right market for some of these guys, it could be really pivotal for you in making this work.
yeah, and kind of with all these quarterbacks, even if let's say Jimmy G, Danny Jones, and Ryan Tannehill, let's say you trade away all 3 of those guys, and you yield 2/3 and a 4th round pick between those guys. Well, if they're all in 2023, I mean, suddenly you would have multiple thirds to use. You would have a 4th, and not that those picks are going to yield you much, but those are always good throw-ins to kind of get a deal done and sneak into that first round, sneak into the second round. So it's not a bad tactic for sure. It's just, I mean, these quarterbacks, they don't have nearly as much value in one QB for me to personally be holding on to them and expecting the world. But you never know. There's value to be had in a handful of these guys here. Like we're saying, you just got to know when to reach out and take it and just accept what you can, because there are very few pieces on this roster that's going to get you something that's going to change the outcome over the next even year. So take what you can get, roll with the punches, just hope for the best, man. But
Yeah,
Sean,
it is for fun at the end of the day, right? So
yeah, well, best of luck to you, Sean. We're always here to give you a helping hand. We can't help you too much because we're in the league with you, and hey, makes me happy when someone else sucks in the league because that means I have a better chance to make the playoffs. But in all seriousness, though, it's you got a good young core, so just keep up with it. You'll get there eventually, and stop trading away your own first round picks. Damn it, stop it. But that's going to do it for us here on That Dynasty Show today. If you are watching and you have a roster that you'd like us to take a look at, some trades that you'd like us to kind of go over and give our personal takes on, feel free to put them in the comments or join our Discord even, because we do have tons of channels in there for team reviews, trade reviews, just general talking back and forth, if you will. So please join us there if you have any interest. Like, subscribe, comment, do all that good stuff. Keep following us because we are really enjoying it. Last night we got, I think, like 3 or 4 followers overnight, and I know to a lot of people that's like, oh yeah, big whoop, 3 or 4 followers, but that's like the biggest jump that we've seen in a single day since we started this channel about a month and a half ago, and it's pretty cool to see. So really appreciate everyone that's watching the videos and hitting that subscribe button. And Tyler, I'll let you give us the sign off here.
yeah, I mean, if you told me we would have 30 subscribers, 30 something, 40 days after we started, I'd say we were probably doing something right and putting some good content out. So Thanks for the support, guys, and we will catch you guys next time on That Dynasty Show.